Welcome back. My name is Jeff Mendelson, and this is the One Big Tip podcast. And today I am really pleased to have with me on the line Neil Schambra Stevens. Neil is a founder, advisor, and people strategist focusing on well being and productivity in the workplace, especially for the next generation of leadership. He draws on over 20 years' experience as a CEO and VP of Fortune 500 brands and corporations, including Converse, Vans, Levi's, and Polaroid. This experience has highlighted the importance of putting people first and encouraging them to be their best selves, both individually and collectively as a team. This is going to be a very exciting conversation today. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It's great to be here. Thank you.
So there were a lot of commas in there. So, CMO of all these big Fortune 500 companies. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I have been very fortunate to work for some amazing brands. The ones that you listed, like Converse and Vans and Polaroid. I'm originally from the UK, but I've been able to live and work in the Netherlands and Italy and Switzerland and also in the US. And those experiences have really, over like 20, 25 years, it really focused my attention on people and teams and helping people really be their best on their best day. And that experience has really inspired what I want to do now, working as a people strategist to enable that next generation of leaders on the rise, and especially working remotely as we all are now, to really help and give back and nurture them. And I do that through a number of different programs and principles, and the main one being kindness, and then gratitude, resilience, and momentum. And those are the four principles of my consultancy, which is called Mercury Jam. And I live and work on a houseboat here in Amsterdam. So that's a brief intro to some of my commas, as you say. And I've got quite a few I recognize.
Yeah, right. So one of the interests, kindness, right? That's not something you hear from a chief officer of anything or a VP. Can you elaborate a little on that, on why those tenets are so important, as opposed to, like why you didn't put momentum first, or like resilience first, like kindness. I don't know. That really stood out to me. I was wondering if you can explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that kindness is a real catalyst for so many different things. And I think that in the intro, you talked about well-being and you talked about productivity. And I think that in order to get that productivity, people need to feel really calm. They need to feel safe, and they need to have a secure environment. And when you do that, that inspires trust and it inspires loyalty. And it enables people to take risks as well, because some companies, they say, we need to innovate, we need to inspire, we need to take risks. And people need to feel safe in order to do that. As I always say, nobody ever had a good idea whilst being chased by a tiger, right? You need to be able to create that calm, safe environment. And what kindness does, kindness is the glue. It really helps to create an atmosphere of empathy and compassion. And when people feel really well, when they feel well at work, they feel happier and they're more productive. So it causes this ripple effect. And kindness is that catalyst for all those things. And I've been in environments where, people are maybe not as treated as well as they should. And we talk a lot about toxic environments as well. And kindness is really, it's a superpower for future-facing organizations. It really makes a big difference that if you lead with kindness, people will follow you.
That is so profound. I mean, I'm just thinking about some of the other, and some of the other toxic environments that I've been in my corporate career, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what would happen is I would get I wouldn't be able to stay in like one company for like more than 3 years. I think my record was 4, right?
Right.
And a couple of things would happen in my career. Either the company would go under, due to no fault of my own, of course, right? But maybe they just didn't have a good business model, but other times it's just like, geez, I don't want to work here. Right. And
Right.
I just, the visual that's coming to me is like, wow, if they would just be kinder to, to us employees, and thinking about a little bit more about how to get more productivity out of us by being nice instead of always holding that sword above your head. And it's like,
Sure.
geez, would have been a much better place to have, to work.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, people are the number one asset for a company. Without your people, you have nothing. You just have like a name or an idea. And it's all about human connection, whether you're in sales or marketing, supply chain, finance, operations, whatever it is, it's people talking to people. And if you can create that environment where people are, and yes, it's about being nice, but it's about my definition of kindness is enabling people to be seen, to be heard, and to be valued. And especially when we're sitting on these Zoom calls all day, if you can actually connect with someone and make sure, I'm like, Jeff, I see you, I hear you, and I value you, it makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. And the other thing that I always strive to do in every piece of communication or meeting is to leave somebody better than when you found them. So my goal today, by the end of this podcast, is to leave you in a better place, Jeff, than when I found you, to inspire you through kindness, to inspire, to make you feel better, the wellness and the productivity, because a company is only as healthy as the people who work there. And I think far too often in these toxic environments, it's just, it's just pushing. And you can create growth and you can create revenue. And from my experience, having been in the C-suite, I understand shareholder value, but I've seen how the future will be. And you will create richer, stronger, healthier companies by having better people, and who are nurtured and inspired to show up with joy, to show up with kindness. And if you do that, your productivity will increase. And especially now where are we? People are looking ahead to Q3, Q4, got to get back to growth, coming out of the pandemic. And so the pressure is on already. Okay, productivity. How well are your people doing right now? Are they feeling good? Are they feeling inspired to come back and push and grow? What's their motivation for doing it when they've spent the last 12 months or so in just the most bizarre, once in a generation experience, where we've seen this digital transformation where everybody is now working online, more or less. And, we need to show people a path forward. And that path is through kindness.
What's interesting about what you're talking about is that this doesn't only apply to the workplace. This can also apply to like a freelancer who, is trying to bring in a lot of clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
I, in my time, have fired more than a few clients that have, mistreated either myself or someone on my team. And, I really took a stand. Like first of all, I took it as a personal offense. Right. And second of all, I'm like, something, I don't want that energy here. I don't need your money. Right. Which is a very interesting place to be. Right. Especially, like as a freelancer, I think the biggest thing is that, like you don't have one boss anymore. You have 40. Right. You have all these different clients demanding, time and effort from you. So if I have to fire one client because they're just being impossible to deal with, working on these tenets of kindness and, respect, towards momentum, it's like, no, get the hell out of here. Like, I don't need you. Right. And I think that really applies to, it applies to a lot of things that we choose to focus our efforts on, whether it's on our personal lives or professional lives, however you want to cut it. I mean, it's all very important, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it starts with being kind to yourself. You as the leader, even as a freelancer, your life is worth more than, no one should be made to feel bad coming to work or doing something. You have agreements, you have scopes of work, you have contracts, terms and conditions. That's business. I'm not talking about the fluffy stuff and people needing kind of, back rubs and kumbaya. It's business. But there's kind ways of doing business. And there's no reason for people to be toxic to one another. I mean, the costs of toxic cultures are incredible. It costs.
I can definitely attest to that.
Yeah,
I can definitely attest to that because it just slows down everything. It mucks up the entire works. When people aren't kind, when they start asking for things that are off scope, when they start asking for things that are unreasonable, like I need this 20-page PowerPoint by tomorrow. Like, no, sorry, it's not going to happen.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way at all. And I think that if you have, say, an employee who could be a peer or a leader or a colleague or whomever, and that one person triggers an employee to leave, the average cost to company to replace an employee, and let me do a quick conversion if we do it in dollars, is about $120,000 on average per employee. Cost to company, employing, lost revenue, lost productivity. So if that one person triggers 5 people to leave or 10 people to leave, that's $1 million cost to company from one individual. And the World Health Organization gave a definition of burnout, and this is pre-COVID numbers. The burnout costs the global workforce 91 million lost working days a year through burnout, through toxic cultures. 91 million. And so we know the causes of it. And people say, well, kindness, it's a weakness, it's not a strength. It's absolutely not. When you have these numbers presented to you, and as a business owner, like, no, it doesn't make sense. I don't need this toxic client in my life for my business. Then you think the human cost as well. And your people will be happier, they'll be more energized, they'll be more focused, they'll be more productive.
Kindness as a superpower. Imagine that.
Oh yeah.
Very profound.
Yeah, I mean, one of my comments in my LinkedIn is I'm a people strategist and I'm a kindness avenger, and I'm not alone. There's many of us out there as well.
Amazing. Glad to hear it. I want to say your one big tip, and intensely interesting for me, because I like the time management field. I try, I employ a lot of different things, and in order to maximize the time and the effort that I make on things. But but your framework doesn't just talk about time management; it talks about energy management as well. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my God, yeah, right. This is about managing your energy, because I only have so much energy I can give throughout the day. I only have so much that I can give, like my family, and then to my clients, and then dedicate into my own projects. And you really have to manage that also while managing, the time they're putting into it. Can you please talk a little bit about what this new framework is and how it works, and like how you can implement it?
Absolutely. So I think just for context, and again, it's another kindness tip to being kind to yourself. And right now, as we all know, our personal and professional lives are completely blended together. The traditional Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 doesn't exist anymore, and it's probably never going to exist anymore. And so what I encourage people to do is to focus on the things that are really important to them and the energy that they need to commit in order to complete that task. And so what I encourage people to do is, rather than doing like a work to-do list and maybe a personal to-do list, because everything is blended together, it's to sit down and write out, could be on paper, could be on your laptop, wherever you take your notes, and write down all the things that you need to do. And that could be, I need to write that report. I need to order my groceries online. I need to, depending on, your situation, manage the kids with their online schooling. Whatever it is, make one list for your life, okay? And then I invite you to take it like an hour, maybe on a Monday morning or even on a Sunday, if you want to use up a bit of your time there, is to spend an hour scheduling your week as best as you can in terms of all the things that you need to do. So it could be 9 to 9:15, I'm going to reply to these 3 important emails. Or from 9:15 to 9:30, I'm going to order my online groceries. And that way, you're actually combining your whole life together, and you're trying to understand where your best time of the day, where your best energy is. So, for example, 6 to 8, that could be the optimum time to focus on your most important project or your most important assignment for the week. And it might feel a little sort of overly prescribed and a bit sort of dictated to, but when you actually do that, when you commit to compiling a list of your life and then dedicating an hour to scheduling it, the other, for argument's sake, 39 hours of that week are going to be far more productive, and you have a much better, clearer idea of where you need to devote your energy. And it also forces you to make choices about how much time you're going to commit to, checking your social media or whatever. Like, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to do that, 20 minutes, maybe once in the morning, once in the evening, and that's it. And as a framework, you start to manage and control your life. And then you can plan in times during the day where my energy level is lower. So between, say, like 2 and 4, I'm going to do less things because maybe I take a dip in my energy levels. And then I think, well, between 8 and 10 in the evening, yeah, I've had my dinner and I feel more energized then. That's when you start to build up again in the evening. And so you're managing your whole time and your energy levels in particular. And when everything is so blended together, it's a really good system for doing this. And I teach this as a module for people to help them sort of navigate this. And I would just invite people just to try it, and figure out what it is that they want to do throughout the week, how they're going to schedule their weekend. Just really plan out the whole week and the whole framework.
So to summarize, what you're talking about is to schedule things down, like not just make a to-do list, but basically a to-do calendar, right? So you're putting all of this into, like, you're actually committing time to it, not just something that can, oh yeah, I'll get to it tomorrow, I'll get to it the next day, I'll get to it this evening, right?
Yeah.
And what you're doing is that since you have already blocked out that time, you then, like, it's done, it's finished, and then you could really forget about it, as opposed to reading about it again as it gets pushed further and further down that list, right?
Right. I think the difference is that, from my experience, what people do, they make these huge to-do lists, and things just fall off or they get added. And if you can actually then schedule it, as you say, into your calendar and block out the chunks of time, maybe you color code it or whatever it is, then actually your energy levels are where you need to devote your main focus. It's much easier to do. And the other quick tip I would throw in there is, if there's something that's going to take you 60 seconds or less, do it, so it doesn't even get onto your to-do list. And then that way, it's like all these little itty bitty things, they don't stack up. So it's really about being kind to yourself to schedule time in your calendar for both your quote unquote life things and your work things as just one seamless thing, because that's how we're living right now. And if your work allows you to take a break, not at between 12 and 1, which is the traditional lunchtime or whatever it might be, but today, I'm gonna have a bit of an energy break between 2 and 4 because I need to do this, and this, or I need to walk, or I need to work out, or whatever it is. It's a much more efficient way of actually scheduling your energy, and it makes you more productive as well because you're more in control. And when things feel so out of control right now, that's a real bonus as well.
That's really interesting. I'm curious to know if you can give an example of someone that you have taught this to that previously had a really strong, like they, a a stressful environment. They didn't manage their energy well. They certainly didn't manage their time well. Once they've learned this process and then implemented it, what was the net result? Like what happened after that, after they've implemented it?
Sure. I think, what's a good example of that? I mean, I work a lot with creatives and advertising agencies, and which are kind of high pressured areas anyway. And there was one individual who was very much had, I think, maybe 3 or 4 direct reports, and was always available for them. And as a consequence, struggled to keep up with their own workload. And so things got really overloaded, overstressed. And when we applied this process, what it actually did, it created more space in their day. And so they were actually better managers as a result of it, by creating their own space, by not constantly being available for people, but creating these moments where a more structured a way of sort of checking in with individuals. And it enabled them to be a better leader, and by being less hands-on and creating a little bit more space because their week was structured, their individuals, their direct reports, actually they flourished as well. And they saw how this process of scheduling had worked, and they adopted it as well. So as a team, they were much more structured, but ironically, they were much more free in their thinking, if that makes sense, because they had actually
because what happens then is that they know that if their boss is only available, like either if you use the Calendly link and time with, or if you know that the open door policy is from 4 to 5:30, and they know that they need to bunch up whatever it is before that, so that when they go in, they can really nail down point by point as they're talking to that person.
Absolutely.
Very profound.
I speak to myself like as a CMO. I always had an open door policy until I didn't. So I would, there's always that knock, knock, knock. Hey, Neil, do you have 5 minutes? It's never 5 minutes.
No.
Like,
get away. Buzz off.
And then so I'd have that door, and then I'd actually just close the door, and then people wouldn't knock on it. And you need to create that remote experience of like, I'm not available. And you can block out your calendar for it. And you can put in time where, guys, I need to, check in on something. And there's plenty of other, quick ways, whether it's Slack or WhatsApp or whatever. But just controlling your time and making you feel more in control when seemingly there's so much of life is out of control right now is a really simple and easy way of being kind to yourself and actually controlling things. Because when you're at home, when your family are around you, or your friends or flatmates or partner or whatever, it's a different environment. People do just interact with one another. And so you need to create, personal time or family time or whatever it is. And you can only do that if you schedule that and manage your time. And then that allows for, the quirks of business, that random client call or something being rescheduled or whatever it is. But if it's really focused down, you're going to be more productive. You're going to be more in control, and that's going to make you much happier.
Amazing stuff. Thank you so much for sharing that. Can you please let everyone know how they can learn more about you, how they can learn more about mercuryjam.com, and how they can reach out to you directly if they'd like to learn more?
Absolutely. So there's 2 ways. I think that I'm on LinkedIn. You can either find me by my company page, which is Mercury Jam, or with my name, which is Neil Schambra Stevens. Or you can go to mercuryjam.com, and there's an opportunity to sign up there for a free discovery session, or to look at some of the programs that I offer. Those are probably the 2 best ways to get a hold of me. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing stuff. Neil, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun. I love talking about this stuff, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
No, thank you, Jeff. It's been a really good conversation. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.